Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the formula again, and most of you can probably guess what this panel is, but if you do not know, this is the headliner. And it is not hard to tell that this headliner has definitely seen better days. So the plan is that after I replace the headliner, because it doesn't have it, that should really complete the interior on this car. It has everything else. I mean, it has the carpet, it has all the door pieces, it has all the trim in it. It just does not have the headliner. So that's what we're gonna be putting in today. I already made a video going over how to redo your headliner. I made it on my red Fiero. So if you guys wanna see that, you guys can check it out right up here. And I would recommend watching that one first because I am gonna go more in depth on that one than in this one because I've already done it. But it's a pretty simple process. I'm still gonna go over it. You're still gonna be able to know how to do it at the end if you just see this one. Also, I got the Volkswagen summer wheels on, so it is a good day. If you guys saw my side scoop video, you know that I wanted to see my air filter through the side scoop, and I couldn't, but I actually just replaced it with a much larger one, and now you can see it right through it. So that is kind of cool, I think. Okay, anyways, back to our headliner. Very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna tear off the old fabric and we're gonna see what there is left to actually work with. Okay, so here it is. It is broken in half, as you can see, and there's little pieces that are broken off here. It's cracked up here. This thing is really rough, but I am going to be able to use it. I know how to fix these cracks and the broken spots. I'm going to try a different way to do it, which I think will work even better than the way I did before. So we're going to be able to do that. But before, we're going to have to clean this up because there's some old foam on here and the glue, which is literally just deteriorating as you touch it. So we're going to go and clean that up first. And then after that, we can move on to how to actually fix this board. Alrighty, so I'm just going to take my vacuum cleaner here and I'm going to go over it and just try and get all this old glue and old foam off, and we will be in business. So let's get this done and we'll meet back up once I am finished. All right, and just like that, it cleaned up very well. We got most of the old glue and foam off very easily. The shop vac made quick work of that, and now it should be ready for us to actually repair it and then lay some new fabric on it. Now you guys can see that these are clearly broken right off. And before, if you remember, I used a cardboard, like a cereal box, and some hot glue and just glued them together with some cardboard on the top and the bottom to kind of reinforce it. And that worked really well. But I'm gonna try a different method today, which should, in theory, work better and be stronger in the long run. And it should be easier overall. And that is fiberglass. My plan is to just cut some sheets out of the fiberglass mat and kind of lay this down and kind of put the sheet right over it. And I might put some duct tape on the back just to hold it together, especially over there. But for these spots where it's like just weak but not broken off yet, I think just the fiberglass right over the top with a nice coat of resin will be just fine. And I think it'll hold it together really well, and it might give it some rigidity as well. So it'll be nice. And over on the cracks, same kind of thing. I'll just put some mat over it and then put the resin, and it should hold it together really nice. I might do it from the back and see how it looks, and I might put some tape over the front to keep it flat for the new headliner, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but we're gonna figure it out. Well, 5 minutes later, the headliner board is one piece again, kind of. So what I did is I just went over with this tape and I just taped all the pieces together that are loose or broken off. And I used this T-Rex tape stuff because I didn't have any duct tape, and this stuff is extremely strong. And it works pretty well. I mean, it holds everything together nice. So I think it'll be good for the fiberglass. If I were you, I would go out to Walmart and grab some of these paint brushes. They're like 99 cents a piece, and they are perfect for the job. They're the perfect size, and they get the job done nice. So I'm gonna go ahead, flip this over, mix up some fiberglass, and we are going to start laying down some of our fiberglass sheet. The headliner board is flipped over, and I think we are ready for fiberglass. I have a bunch of various shapes cut out, and I'm about to pour the resin and then mix up the hardener, and we should be good to start laying it on here. I have the headliner board laid out. It should be as flat as it could. I put tape over here, so this is nice and level. So we're gonna go ahead and lay down some resin and some fiberglass, and we're gonna see how it turns out. Like I said, I have never used this method before, so I am curious to see how well it actually turns out. Okay, I have all the fiberglass laid down. You can see I have a few layers over each spot, and I think it's gonna work well, but we gotta wait for it to dry. So why don't we go and get our fabric, so then by the time we get back, hopefully this should all be dry and we can go ahead and start prepping to put our fabric on to this board.
Seconds later.
And we have our fabric. It's not the exact color, but I think it'll work just fine. And this stuff was like $9 for all the fabric that we need, so I think it's gonna be great. All right, and here we are, and the fiberglass is all dry, and it is actually pretty strong, so that is good to hear. Now, since the fiberglass is done and this piece is actually one piece now, we can go ahead and throw our fabric, which is sitting over there. We can start throwing that on here. We can cut out a rough shape and we can get ready to make this look like an actual headliner again, so we can throw it back into the formula. All right, so we got our fabric laid out on the table, and I have the headliner laid down upside down. I'm gonna go ahead and do a rough trace around here with my marker, and then I can go ahead and cut it out to a general shape. Then I can go ahead and actually start adhering the fabric to the headliner board with some adhesive, and then we can go around and do our final cuts and button everything up, and that should really be everything. It should be a finished product. So let's go ahead, mark this stuff up and get it cut out and glued in place. Okay, what I went and did is I laid out the fabric onto the actual headliner board. I cut this out and then I realized, why am I doing this? I can really just lay out the entire thing, glue it exactly where I want it, and then I can go back and cut everything out. Because when you cut everything out first, you kind of limit yourself to exactly where you have to put the headliner. So I caught myself there and I lined everything up. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue everything down, and then we're gonna go ahead and cut everything out. So then we aren't limited to exactly where we have to put the fabric. So I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing this down, and we can go ahead and see the finished product. I have everything laid out. I'm gonna fold it up, kind of like a small portion. Then I'm gonna glue the portion of the board and then glue the fabric, and then I'm gonna fold it back over just little by little because I don't really have anyone to help me, so it's kind of difficult to lay the thing down flat without having any wrinkles or anything in it. But we're gonna go ahead and do that, and we're gonna see how it looks. Here's the fabric I'm using. It's the same stuff as I used on my door panel. It's just the 3M high strength contact adhesive. You can find this at Walmart or your auto stores or online, really wherever. So we're gonna go ahead and glue this fabric to the board, and hopefully it turns out well, and we'll check back in once it's finished. And just like that, all the fabric is glued down to the headliner board. It turned out very well. I don't have any wrinkles in it at all, and I am super impressed with how this turned out. You can see there was a bit of a wrinkle here, kind of moving over, pushed all the wrinkles to this last spot, which I kind of had to work it. But I found that if you have a wrinkle, because I had a pretty bad one right here that was kind of hard to get rid of, if you kind of work it slowly towards the center, especially on a sunroof car, you can push the wrinkle towards the center, because I'm going to be cutting all this material out for the sunroof. So this is all going to go away, and the stuff you're going to see is all smooth. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. So now I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a little bit, and we can go ahead and flip it over and go ahead and start cutting our edges, cutting our hole for our sunroof and our sun visors and everything like that, and button everything else up, and then we should be done with this headliner.
Much later.
And it is 1 day later, and the headliner is completely done. I cut everything out, I've glued it, and I have it all tucked away, and I think this looks fantastic. I have absolutely no wrinkles in it. It just looks great. On the back, you can see that I have everything tucked back. I used some of this tape on some spots where it didn't really want to stick, or where I had things kind of overlapping, you can see like this. So on the spots where I added the tape, it was just a little bit of extra protection. You don't have to do that, but I really wanted to, just to make sure that it was all gonna stick and look good. All right, I just finished up going over with a razor blade and cutting out all the holes for the little hooks that go in the back and for the sun visors that go up there. So all the holes are done. The headliner is completely done. All right, so what I'm gonna do first is take out the sunroof. I need to do this so I can get to the actual latch and take that off, because when we install the headliner, we actually need to put the latch on after the headliner is in. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the sunroof out and put that in the front, and then I can take the latch off so we won't have any issues putting the headliner back in. Now with the sunroof out, we can go ahead onto the inside and we can take off this latch, the third brake light cover. We need to take off the sun visors and the dome light. And we need to loosen up these trim panels so we can pop them out of the way. And I think we have to take these off too, these little trim pieces that go down here. And after we have everything torn apart, we can go ahead and throw our new headliner up and start reassembling. Well, I think it is all torn apart, so we should be ready to throw the actual headliner back in. I did take out these panels. You do not have to, but I just did because I broke this little speaker thing, so I have that glued in. That's going to be drying up. I broke this tab off for a clip, so I decided to put that back on. And then this one, I just took out. I don't know. I don't really know. It was just already coming out, so I just took that one out too. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get the headliner board in here and see if I can get it lined up, and maybe we can get this thing in with no problems, but we'll definitely see how it goes. So wish me luck. Okay, everybody, so here is how it looks. We have everything back in, and I am actually impressed with it. I think that the color matches the interior really nice. You can see that it's a little bit lighter than what the original one was by the sun visors, but I think that it looks pretty good. Now, I think that the final step to wrap up this is to add this seal for the sunroof, which is right here. Now, I don't really know how this thing goes in. I just had this sitting in my parts car because I never put it back in when I put the sunroof together. So I'm gonna try and figure out how this goes in, and we will check back after I get that in, and hopefully we will be all done. And here it is, everybody. The interior on this car is now 100% complete, and I am super happy about that. It's been the last thing on the car that I haven't put together yet, and the headliner really just wraps everything together. And I am super happy with how this turned out. I think the color match is great. It's a little lighter than the sun visors and what the original headliner would have been, but I think that the color matches the seats well, and it fits the interior really well. So overall, I am super happy with how this turned out, and I'm super happy that the interior is now 100% complete. And that is going to wrap up today's video. Redoing your headliner is super simple and cheap, and everybody should do it, especially on older vehicles like this. It helps complete the interior and just make it look so much better. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. See you later, everybody.